All right, so let's talk about closing gifts for a second and what actually makes the perfect closing gift the closing gift that's going to actually bring you business. Because whenever you talk about closing gifts with other real estate agents, depending on their school of thought, you go into extremes. There are the real estate agents that will practically give their house away, give their commission away right back to the client in the form of a closing gift. And then there are some agents that swear up and down that no, my service is enough. There's no closing gifts. You don't see a doctor giving you a closing gift or a gift after they perform a successful surgery. So you have these two camps. The ones that are going to give their entire commission, almost going to debt right back into the client and feeding back into the client. And then there's the ones that are not going to do anything for the client outside of the service. So regardless of which camp you fall into, I think I can make a pretty compelling argument for you to see a closing gift as an investment, for you to actually go through the fundamentals of what makes a perfect closing gift. Well, number one, the closing gift needs to show appreciation. And the reason for this is because you're going to work with clients that are going to get into a home that's $50,000. Nothing wrong with that. But you're also going to work with clients that are getting into homes that are $5 million. So as long as you can show appreciation to those two types of clients that are in distinct worlds, you're gonna be okay. So that's number one. The closing gift that you go with needs to show appreciation, and it can be anything. Now I'll give you examples of the perfect closing gifts as soon as we go through the 3 criteria that your closing gift needs to meet. Well, number one, we just talked about it. It was appreciation. Number 2, it needs to have utility. The closing gift that you go with needs to have utility. It needs to avoid the trash at all costs. So if you give somebody a closing gift at the closing table and they immediately go and throw it away as soon as you're not looking, then you're giving the wrong type of closing gift. So the reason that the closing gift has to have utility is because we want them to use it. We want them to display that gift. We don't want it to be stored away, never to be seen again. We want it part of their lives as much as possible. And the third criteria, the third requirement of what makes a perfect closing gift is that it needs to remind your client of you. There needs to be that connection, whether you help them buy a home or sell a home. They need to be reminded of you whenever they look at their closing gift or they utilize their closing gift. So notice that to meet these 3 criteria of appreciation, of utility, of reminding the client of you, you don't have to go into the poorhouse. In fact, some of my favorite closing gifts are actually very inexpensive. So to give you some examples, if you do a custom house painting of the house that you just sold for them, that's gonna resonate incredibly well. So what's gonna be the trick here is, outside of just making that painting for them, well, you don't have to make it, purchasing that custom painting for them, make sure that you put their name on the painting itself. You want people to display that type of closing gift. Another example of an inexpensive closing gift that works perfectly is personalized cutting boards. Anytime you put the family's name on something, they want to display it, they want to use it. So a personalized cutting board is really inexpensive and it'll do the trick of the 3 criteria that we just talked about. Personalized doormats are also a great gift because every single homeowner can absolutely use a doormat. It doesn't matter if they have one already that they like. The moment that you put their name on something, they're going to keep it and toss out the old one. So these are all great closing gifts that don't require a ton of time. These are great closing gifts that don't require a lot of money. And as long as you stick to those 3 principles, those 3 criteria that your closing gifts need to meet, you're going to find yourself receiving a ton of repeat customers, repeat clients. So them using you again for their next real estate purchase, but you're going to find other individuals coming over to the house and asking, hey, that's a pretty cool painting. Who gave that to you? Well, let me tell you, it was actually my favorite realtor, aka you're going to start getting some referrals.